Hello, everyone. It's Audrey White again. This is week 5. I am your presenter today. I am wanting to talk about cultural norms. Um, that's one of the subjects for this week, and I thought it would be good to, to cover it a little bit in a little more depth, I suppose. Because cultural norms, as everyone knows, plays a huge role in the learning environment of second language learners. And I feel it's very important to recognize this because this is, again, as I constantly say, I like to look at things that are of benefit for both the teachers and the students. I think it's, when you find things that are benefiting both the teacher and the student, those can make very powerful tools. Okay, first point I want to make is that we all bring our own social and cultural norms to a classroom. And obviously, this can have a huge impact on the learning process. The key to me is to comprehend and accommodate the various cultures that are encountered in the classroom. This is a skill set that I feel second language learning teachers need to possess. Another point I want to make is that when one talks about cultural norms, they are speaking to topics such as awareness of cultural behavior patterns, tolerance development, understanding of diverse cultural signifiers such as silence, body language, and time, cultural study, cross-cultural pragmatics, in parentheses, nuanced differences in how language is used, understanding the peculiarity of one's own culture and strategies for overcoming cultural differences is, again, it's a skill set that everyone can use in today's global society. But again, highlight the fact that this is something that really has to be focused on and taken seriously by the second language learning teacher. Because the goal of the second language learning teacher is to promote intercultural competence, both for themselves as well as for their students, so that ultimately the goal is effective communication. That is the end result that we are trying to achieve with our students, as well as ourselves. It's a learning process for the teacher as well. Any classroom setting is. It can be said that language learning is cultural learning. This is very important to recognize and acknowledge. Again, I'll say it again. Language learning is cultural learning. You cannot master a foreign language, without having a good grasp of the culture that it comes from, because there is such a strong relationship between the two. According to Hall, language is one of the dominant threads in all cultures. So again, just some key points I want to point out today, or point out this week. Culture affects the meanings in words and concepts in language and the attitudes towards the learning of the language. So it is so important for the second language teacher to know that, to recognize it, and to use it to benefit everyone in the classroom. It's also important for a second language teacher to tap into, so to speak, how to use the learner's culture and their awareness in order to develop a positive attitude towards the learning of their second language. This can actually go a very long way. Something I wanted to quote, I think is, pertinent to what we're talking about today. It has been said that language is much more than learning a new vocabulary and grammar. It includes cultural competence, knowing what to say and how, when, where, and why to say it. Again, some key points I just want to emphasize this week on cultural norms. As a teacher, I know I have to look at my own culture and also the target culture when teaching a second language in order to present proper meanings and attitudes. So cultural competence isn't just about learning and teaching, your students' culture, the culture that you are, or the language, the culture in which the language you're teaching, how they connect, and then also your own. And I believe the following statement sums up the importance of today's topic. Language curriculum should be organized around the notion of cultural norms and literacy so that students can learn structures with the aim of placing them in the cultural context. Again, another highlight, one point out. During my research for this talk today, I ran across a thesis that was written by, I'm going to spell the name this time, Samuel. First name, last name is Ahorklui. I will give one attempt and apologize, I'm sure I'm not getting it right. Small Arcolia. He's at the University of Ghana, and in his thesis, he explored the relationship between second language acquisition and learning to cultural norms and how culture affects second language acquisition and learning. In his thesis, I should say in their thesis, I'm not sure if this is a boy or girl, I apologize. In their thesis, it was concluded that students can only master a language effectively, key term effectively, only when they learn both its linguistic and cultural norms. His paper, or her paper, emphasized the significance of teachers allowing students to observe and explore cultural interactions from their own perspectives to enable them to find their own voices in the second language speech community. So for all the reasons mentioned earlier, all the highlights that I wanted to point out, I wanted to focus on cultural norms and their importance in the second language learning classroom because I feel this is a very key to what second language learning is all about. And as might be obvious, the teachers continue to learn alongside their students, and that makes teaching a fulfilling job. So I personally want to leave with how I feel about learning about other cultures, cultural norms, and using that, to benefit the students in the classroom. I find that to be a very fulfilling part of my job. I grew up in a city that was multicultural, very worldly. People from all over the world today visit and live in my small town of Santa Fe, New Mexico. So I grew up learning about cultures all across the globe, and again, that makes teaching in those kind of environments very, very fulfilling. Thank you for listening, and I appreciate your time.